Go ahead.
There we go. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Season 3, Episode 6 of the VR Link. This is your weekly Wednesday podcast on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook at 8 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. EST, and 1 p.m. PST. On this show, we discuss the latest news, games, and goings-on within the virtuality community. My name is GT from Gamertag VR, and taking the place of Matt this week as my co-host is gaming legend, Mr. John Riggs. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I wish I was half as sexy as Matt, but I'll do the best I can anyway.
Well, someone pointed out in the chat earlier, you got the beard thing going on.
That helps, yeah.
We tend to have a lot of bearded people on the show. It's becoming one of those things where if you haven't got a beard, you might not be able to come on.
Well, I have to because I come from a Norwegian heritage where we typically don't have chins, so I have to have something to shape out the entire face. Trust me, if I don't have facial hair,
what does that
even
mean?
a goatee or something, even a goatee or something, I go straight. My lips go straight to my neck, and that's game over. And I look like a giant thumb walking around. So I have to have something to shape out the face anyway.
Anyone in the chat Norwegian? I did not. I've never heard that in my life. Yeah, crazy. So John's in brilliant spirits. This is awesome. Today he is joining us because we're going to talk about his gaming career. Probably can't do all of it because there's a hell of a lot, I think, by the sounds of it. But he's a fantastic YouTuber and just someone in the community that I think everyone loves. And when I watch his videos, and I was saying to John earlier, I do watch the whole thing a lot of the time because I just love everything he's telling me. And especially, he did a video about being a Nintendo partner. That was fascinating. Like, that was truly fascinating. So, if you don't know who this guy is, you're going to find out who he is, and it's going to be awesome. For those of you who follow the show and want to listen again, you can find it on Spotify, Apple, and Anchor. All you have to do is search the VR Link podcast, or you can just use the links in the description. If you enjoy the show and want to support the channel, you can join these legendary patrons and YouTube channel members whose names are immortalized below each and every episode. And we have a fantastic Discord of 1,100 VR users. How is everyone in the chat? Thank you ever so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Quick shout out to Sir Real Deal, Les Marwick, Jeff Bob, Gail. Thank you all for being here. Pedro, P90. Cheers, guys. Scottish Gamer. I'm loving your profile pic, man. I'm loving that that retro stuff. It's all good.
That's right.
Thank you ever so much for being here. Yeah. So let's dive in, man. Let's we've got some VR news and some clips we're going to talk about, but I want to talk to our guest today. Take me back a little bit because I was going to put in my description for this. I was going to put in my description, if you're over 30, you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to know a hell of a lot what we're going to talk about. I don't know though. I don't know, because sometimes I talk to some people and they're like, I don't know, they're below 30 and they still, I think you can get into retro stuff and old school gaming at any time. You didn't necessarily have to be there. So yeah, let's hear a little bit about yourself, please, sir.
Yeah, no, and it's a good way to look into it too. But no, I'm from the generation, growing up in the arcades, and I remember when my dad brought home our first Atari 2600, and how excited I was for that. And that's kind of when I got my kind of like love and passion for video games. Was I could play games at the arcade, but I also had the reasonable facsimile, the inspired by version at home. And then when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out, that's when I was like, okay, this is now officially my number one hobby. Because there was that time, that video game crash. I still played video games during that time.
I've watched so many videos about that video game crash. Is that when they buried all the ET game cartridges?
That was part of it, but it was just, imagine if everyone was making shovelware because they'll buy anything, and then no one was buying anything. So then they were selling out these games for super cheap.
Yeah.
So there was a time, but video games still existed during that time, and we still had, Intellivision, ColecoVision, Commodore 64 to an extent. But then it was that when the Nintendo kind of resurgence came back, or the home console version of the home entertainment part of it, with the NES, that's when I was like, oh, okay, now we're back in full force. And just in that little sliver of time, I was more into, I was elementary school at the time, so I was into action figures, I was into cartoons. There's still plenty of other stuff to tide me over. It was still during a time when there was arcade games at every gas station, at every, or petrol mart, you might call it, at every restaurant. I mean, there's video games everywhere, arcade games everywhere.
I feel so bad for people who miss that stuff, because that's like, I used to leave like my nan's house where I used to stay every weekend and go around the corner to the shop, and I'll be playing like Street Fighter and Final Fight, and all that
There you
stuff.
go.
That was like my favorite thing to do. And arcade machines used to be they were dramatically more advanced than home consoles. So going to an arcade, you was like, oh my god, this is incredible. Sitting in Afterburner with that. They had like a moving machine. Like they used to have moving arcade machines and stuff, didn't they? To you know.
Yeah. Well, they had, I mean, whatever gimmicks they could come up with at the time, where you would have, and Sega was great for having
Yeah.
the, like you can play it at home all you want, but only if you go to the arcade will you play, Space Harrier with that, the arcade stick,
Yeah.
or Afterburner where you could sit down or, I mean, games, like Hang On, where you're actually
Hang
literally
On.
sitting on a motorcycle and shifting it left or right. It's like, you can play it at home, but you want to go to the arcade for that experience. And we're to the point now where arcade games are either for tickets to exchange for prizes, or there's plenty of like the interactive games where it's like, if you want to play this game at home, you have to buy the entire $5,000 unit.
Wow, crazy. So when you was talking about Nintendo, obviously, and a big shout out to Doomslight80, thank you ever so much for the donation. He says, I'm immortal, great guest today. Yeah, I knew he'd be a
That's
great
right.
guest. Like before we even started.
We're all immortal here.
We're gonna live forever, man, in games.
That's it, always.
When you talked about Nintendo, I believe when you talked about shovelware as well, that's where the Nintendo seal of approval was so important, because that was kind of their way of battling what that meant, as far as I know.
It was. I mean, the old Nintendo games had their seal of approval, and that was just in America, not in Japan. So when it came out to the United States of America, because there was, as far as I know, there was no video game crash in Japan. They're still making, Famicom just came out in 80, good Lord, 80. I don't know the history off the top of my head. I want to say 83. That sounds too early. 85 probably. I don't know, somewhere in there. But here in the United States, that's when Nintendo of America said, we're going to have the seal of approval, and any company can make five games per calendar year, and those games have to be exclusive to the NES for a couple of years or whatever the timeline was. So they really had to focus hard on saying, okay, here are, we're going to work our very best to make these games. And oftentimes there was arcade ports, which was great, because when you get the arcade port of Popeye, for instance, or Super Mario Brothers, or Donkey Kong Jr., these games have already been out in the arcade for years. So to port those arcade games, what they looked like then, to the NES, what it looks like now, you get a pretty reasonable port. It looks pretty legit for the time, especially when they didn't when the NES first came out.
Did you have the gold card? See, this is another thing I remember as a kid. Like, you were cool if you had the Zelda gold cartridge of the original Link. Like, my friend had that, and I remember sitting down and playing that game. That gold cartridge, dude, it might as well have been made of gold. It was absolutely incredible.
It was.
And like, just having that map, we played The Legend of Zelda with the map. Oh.
Yeah, and that was the Skyrim for our time. I mean, that was that was going on any large exploration. And I mean, sure, if you play the game now, you're familiar with the game now, you can play it from start to finish in a few hours. But that was one game. It literally took, and I remember this, it literally took me 2 years to beat that game, because I had to play it, just weekends here and there exploring. I mean, I had Nintendo Powers, but we didn't have the internet. We didn't have GameFAQs or anything like that. We certainly didn't have YouTube walkthrough tutorials, anybody streaming it. So you had to literally bomb every block. You had to burn every bush to find every secret in the game, and made the game last a long time. Of course, I was playing other games between them too. I wasn't just solely focused on that one game.
Do you remember the robot thing that come with the NES?
Yeah, Rob, absolutely.
Rob, okay. So I never had this, and I didn't know anyone who had it. So what was the idea behind Rob on the NES? It was like a plastic thing. I think
it was a toy. It was an interactive gimmick. That's all it was.
It looked like it was from the future, though. I mean, it looked like it was.
That was the point. They were trying to market that, because and it's no. I mean, and I'm sure people in the chat know this too. They wanted to focus the Nintendo system as a entertainment system, not video game system. So that's why it looks pretty generic. It looks like it could be a VCR or something. But then it came with the gimmick of having the gun, as well as this robot that would play the games with you. And they only made 2 games for it. It works pretty sluggishly. I've had one in the past. I don't have one now. I sold it to someone who's a Rob collector, so he has his Rob Armada.
What, he just collects Robs? Yeah,
he does.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
there's some crazy collectors here in the United States, by the way. They're insane.
I'm just gonna actually chuck up a Rob on the screen. That is a Rob. That thing right there. And Ready Player Rick, cheers, man. Thank you ever so much for that donation, dude. Cheers. Thank you.
Player Rick. I like that name.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff on Facebook and does some
Nice.
virtual reality
Well, I'll
content,
check
which is
him out.
awesome. So yeah, funny enough, Sandy, I've got a lot of games as emulators. But yeah, there's
Nothing
Rob,
wrong with that.
and I remember seeing this in a TV advert, and it looked cool as fuck. It was all neon and
Sure.
like it was absolutely incredible. And then like you could basically also, I'm sure a lot of you remember because it's in most retro stuff, and it's mentioned in VR. Funny enough, VR seems to take on this thing of that time period of trying to be like neon and stuff. Was the player glove thing, the hyper glove, Nintendo glove of power.
Oh, Power Glove. Yep.
You haven't got one of them, have you?
Not on me. There's one in the other room now.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah,
Oh
they're
my
terrible.
god. That's
But it's a piece of history though. It's from Mattel, which is a toy. Mattel's a toy maker, so they made this toy.
Oh
Oddly
my
enough, I tried
god.
playing it a few times. I tried to do the Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which works okay. Rad Racer, you can kind of do that thing like in the movie. So and then some games were just fun. Like I forgot what it was, but I'd be playing like Super Mario Brothers, and I'd do like a thumbs up, and he would like run backwards. Or, or just some. So, but the controller itself could also play as a thing. So,
Yeah,
so
so
sometimes
it,
I'd play video games using the Power Glove, but turned sideways with the D-pad and the buttons because they also have like turbo buttons and stuff. So oftentimes I'd use it just for that. But no, it's terrible. It's trash.
oh
It's a piece of
man.
history though.
It is a piece of history. There was a thing I saw not recently. It was like Kung Fu something, and this guy fights a dinosaur, and it was very strange, and it was quite entertaining. And but it had a power glove in it, and I just remember always thinking like everything seems to evolve around these bloody power gloves that are
Yeah,
absolutely
it was just
phenomenal.
looking back on Nintendo history. Not they're not all winners. So they have things like the Power Glove. If it was a winner, then Nintendo would have probably bought it from Mattel, just like Nintendo bought the Power Pad from Bandai. And then hyper focused on it. They made a
Yeah.
couple of games for the Power Glove, and then those work okay. There's a Super Glove Ball where you can grab the ball and throw it back and stuff like that. But
Wow.
for the most part, it's just another gimmick. It's just another be in the video game, be part of the game. It's one thing to have a gun, and the gun was the great. The Zapper was
Yeah, the
fantastic
Zapper was
for its
awesome.
time.
Yeah, yeah,
Won't work on flat screens now, so you still have an old CRT. But the Power Glove, thinking back to it, that may be the first introduction to what could possibly become VR to some people later on. Going back to the VR side of things, is that first element? It's like, oh, I can catch the ball, I can throw it back on Super Glove Ball using the Power Glove, and again, it works. Not great, but it's something. It's a step in the right direction. Sure beats those mall kiosks that we would have once upon a time, where you play a game that's like it was like 15 frames a second, and there's like a little room you can kind of look at your hand, and it kind of like slowly kind of jitter. Okay, this is VR. Okay.
I actually done a video on virtual reality a very long time ago, and the guy who made it messaged me on my video and said thank you for making this. And if you go on the Oculus store, you can play a game called Pterodactyl or something, or Dactyl Nightmare. That's what it's called, Dactyl Nightmare. And you can switch to retro mode. It gives you like a 60 degrees field of view, and the frame rate goes down to like 20 or something. And
Right.
yeah. Like I made this video a long time ago. I tell some people
Yeah.
about it, but that was amazing. A big shout out to BMF, who's not here today,
Hey,
unfortunately.
I'll BMF.
Yeah, man. Thank you ever so much. He says looking good. Both of us, thank you. Love the Nintendo chat. We need to get John into a video with us. Yes, we need to find a game
I'm
where all
down.
three of us can kick some virtuality butt or something. That'd be great.
I'm down. I love it. Yeah, I love VR.
So when we're
For sure, for
talking
sure.
about Nintendo, I'm going to quickly ask you to tell me what your favorite Nintendo console was, if that's possible. Because I've got mine, but I'm wondering if it's about a generational thing. That's what I'm trying to get at.
It's always a generational thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Nathan's in here too. Hey, buddy. We have. I'm just not looking at the chat too. I'm seeing all.
Yeah, oh,
quick
mate,
shout outs to.
look at the chat. Look at the chat. It's all
Yeah, no,
about
I
the
know.
chat.
There's. I see. Great Tauntaun. Hung out with him several times in chats. Square Pegs, a good buddy of mine. Discart, fantastic. If you're looking to show, I don't have a game wall behind me as a lot of YouTubers do. But if you're looking to showcase your collection the best way possible, Discart's channel. He's in the chat right now. He's the channel to watch to help you out with that. So my favorite Nintendo console, if you ask anyone what their favorite Legend of Zelda game is, you can find out how old they are, because it's definitely a generational thing.
Yeah.
So I have three answers to this. My favorite Nintendo console of all time, because I'm from the day, is the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yep.
The best game system of all time is probably the Super Nintendo. But my favorite overall everything, just by, I mean, taking nostalgia away from everything, has to be the Game Boy Advance SP.
Oh,
Because it's portable. It was the first one to have the battery backup. It has the light up screen, the backlighting. Because before that, Game Boys didn't have the backlighting. Not
yeah,
counting
yeah,
Game Boy Light, which came out in Japan.
yeah.
But it
Yeah,
had all
because
these
you
things in
you
it,
had to
and it
buy
played
the
Game Boy Advance and Game Boy
magnifying
Color.
thing, didn't you? You had to buy the magnifier with the light on it with the original Game
You
Boy.
could, yeah, that giant. It just
Oh,
it
it was
makes,
awful. But
the Game Boy was heavy enough as it was.
I remember getting so excited. I actually pre-ordered a Game Boy Advance when they first come out, and F-Zero was on it. And I remember
Yeah,
getting
right.
out of work early on my lunch to go and get it, take it back, get in the car, and I was like, I can't see anything. It's so fucking dark. And it was
Right.
so yeah. But the SP was absolutely fantastic. That was brilliant.
Yeah, has the clamshell and everything. So that
Yeah.
one to me is, yeah, that's. But what is yours? I wonder.
The Nintendo 64.
All right.
And you didn't even mention the Nintendo 64. That's why I was like, where's he gonna go? I don't know. Like it was so exciting for me to hear that. Because my favourite Zelda would be Ocarina of Time. Like
That is a good one. You know, it's funny. I'm admittedly, I mean, that came out when I was in high school, just out of high school. I got a couple years on you, I think. And like with me and the Nintendo 64, and probably other people my generation too. I didn't care for it much, but there's about 5 games on there that I really, really, really like. So you know, I like those games a lot.
Mario 64 though. That
Of
must
course, I mean
that
that's one of them.
surely is not the best Mario game yet. Like made. Is it
Yeah,
not? What do you think?
it's one of my favorites. Absolutely, still,
Hmm.
it doesn't age as well. I don't think it's aged as well, but it's not. It was nice to go back
That's
and play it on the
true.
Switch.
That's
You
true.
know,
That's true because pixel
but it still looks
art
great.
is
I
a
mean,
thing.
the story's still there. I mean, I remember back to when I would see because we didn't have the internet at the time, so I'd see photos in a magazine, and they'd say, "Oh, you can move 3D." I was like, "How?" I couldn't even wrap my head around how that worked. You know, how do you move the whole land 3D? How can you literally run in any direction with an? All these things didn't make sense to me until I finally played one at
Yeah.
a Blockbuster kiosk, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it now." And now then I was sold, and I bought one day one, and and along with that game, and so that's all I really needed for the longest time. I mean, there's some great 64 games out there. There's you know, along with Zelda and along with Mario. I mean, my favorite wrestling. I'm a huge wrestling fan too. My favorite wrestling game is Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, which was an import. It came out just before No Mercy came out in America, but it's like No Mercy just with extra stuff. But there's some great games on the 64, so there's always worth having one on hand.
My mind was blown when I first played Mario 64. And I don't know whether it's because the feeling of where the joystick was and the controls, because the controls were Nintendo have got a thing of always doing something a bit different almost.
They can't stick with the same formula.
No, and the SNES controller for the game, the SNES pad controller for me is the best controller
Right.
one ever made.
Oh,
And
it has to be that one and the Model 2 Sega Saturn gamepad are my two favorites.
that's I've never had a Sega Saturn, unfortunately. By the
All
time
right, well, that's it for me. Good, see ya.
No, I've played all probably the best games on it in the arcade,
Oh, that's
but
good enough. Okay, perfect. I'll take it.
yeah, unfortunately, by the time I was thinking about getting a Saturn, PlayStation just come along and just kicked it right in the face, and it was just
They
gone.
did.
It was just
Yeah.
gone. Like I remember, I think it was Nights into Dreams, and I was like, wow, I can play Sega Rally at home. And to be fair, they were good ports. Daytona was really good. And yeah, I was just I don't know. I was like
But you also want to play Daytona sitting in the actual booth at the arcade, though.
with like
It's kind
8
of hard
people.
when you're sitting on the couch. It's not the same.
With
It's
8
good.
people.
It's just not the same.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, man. I know what you're saying. And but talking about Nintendo and trying to bring VR
Okay.
into it as desperately as I can.
We try to.
Labo. Where
Oh,
are
sure.
Go on. What do you think of Labo? And did you invest in Labo?
You know, I bought it for the when it first came out. I was like, that's interesting. Okay, I get it. I wasn't so sold on it because also I have kids, and I mean it's cardboard, right? I loved the idea behind it, and I loved the little trailer when they built the piano and then played the piano, and I was like, oh my god, I got to show this to my kids. And so
Yeah.
that was something definitely for my kids, a little fun project for the weekend. I was interested in the VR part of it, like so they had like the first set, and then like set 3 or whatever was the VR thing, and I bought it just for the little VR visor thing that you could slip your Switch into. And that was it. And then the rest of the cardboard, I literally threw it away. No, I didn't throw it away. I took it to a video game convention and handed it to some kid. I was like, hey, you want this? Here you go. Because I just wanted the little VR headset thing, which I still have and have used it twice.
Yeah.
You know, for
It's not. It's weird. I did enjoy it, but then I never wanted to use it again. It was really strange. Like it was like a novelty I think part of it was actually enjoying building it. We built like the bazooka thing. And
Oh, sure, yeah,
it was
that's a
pretty
fun one.
cool. It's pretty cool to use it. But yeah, once that bit was out of the way, that was kind of where it finished.
Yeah, I was hoping I'd see more. I mean, I really wanted it for that because I thought we were going to see more VR, not VR, but at least 3D game adapters or even games in general, like even in the eShop for $5 or something. I thought we were going to see more of that. Yes, we got the VR patch for Breath of the Wild for
Yeah.
Zelda, which is great.
Yeah.
And then we got the extra missions, which I thought were pretty fun. The extra missions to Super Mario Odyssey. But it's just like and then it's also it didn't come with a head strap, so as you're playing it, you have to literally hold it
Oh,
up
what
like a
that
like a
was.
viewfinder.
That was all like that. I think everyone said that. Like, why hasn't this thing got a bloody head
Yeah.
strap? It
Well,
was.
it gives your. I mean, it's
Well,
kind of
the
like
controls were actually there, weren't they? You were playing it
you
while.
had to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, someone did make an adapter to strap it around your head, or I guess you could just tie a belt around your head and cinch it. I guess. But I mean, still, it's I don't know. It was. I liked the idea and I liked where they were going with it, but I was like, well, this is as much VR as we're ever going to get out of Nintendo. Then at least it's something.
Do you think that's the case though? Do you think that is it? Like, I'd hope not, because I think VR's growing, but especially with PlayStation re-emerging, which is nice. I'd say re-emerging. Some people would say they never left, and I completely agree with that. But it was only like
Right.
basically a couple of weeks ago that it felt official, that it was definitely 100% guaranteed to be happening.
Right. No, I mean, if anything, I thought the Switch itself, never mind the VR part, I thought the Switch would even go more towards the 3DS route, where it's not in VR with a headset, but at least there's going to be some depth to the game if you're holding it
I
like,
love the 3DS.
like how the 3DS works. I thought if anything, like the next Switch could do something like that. But again,
Yeah,
we
you're
know that
right.
they can do VR because they have the VR
Yeah.
visor thing, whether people used it or not. So I mean, there's no reason they couldn't go back. And I was also like the Switch screen, the screen itself, the screen's resolution.
I think it's 720p, isn't it?
For
Undocked.
for handheld, it doesn't present itself very well. I mean, never mind the screen door effect of the PlayStation VR. I mean, trying to look through that and you see the not pixels up close, but it's when you start seeing the little the red, blue, green colors kind of stick out a little bit more than others. It's like kind of takes you out of it. It's fun to look at for a moment, but I wouldn't put too much stock into Nintendo doing VR, at least not for the next few years.
Do you know, one of the things about Nintendo 3DS was the AR cards that come with it.
Oh, sure.
They were phenomenal. And no one seemed to talk about them. I knew. I'd be like, you got a 3DS? They'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, are you going to talk about the AR cards? Because like
No
my
one did.
kids were great. My son took photos of his friends and put their heads on like these little enemy ships that flew around the house. And
That's
he would
right. Yeah,
and he
it
would
was
shoot
one of the
them.
free apps for the 3DS.
Yeah, phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like I don't know when the 3DS come out, but AR was not
Mhm.
something I'd ever seen at the time. And even now you're getting apps on the phone, AR apps. Like
Sure.
I don't know how old the 3DS is. I'm not sure.
No, it's when did it come out?
But it's
Let's
got to be
see real
10
quick.
years, isn't it? No.
It's got to be close to 10 years. It's because I picked
Yeah.
mine up. 'Cause I move around a bunch, so I always think about where was I when I bought it. And I bought that here locally. The 3DS launch party, by the way, midnight launch party was me and literally one other dude at a Walmart at midnight. And it wasn't until like 12:15 or so when we're both still standing around. And then he got the employee. He's like, "Are you going to release those tonight?" And they didn't even have a clue. They're like, "What? Which one? What is it?"
It was like no
Nintendo?
one. They hadn't arranged anything, or
They hadn't rearranged nothing. And then they went into the back room and they came back with a little box. They're like, "Oh, these things?" It's like, "Oh yeah, well, we can sell them to you right now, I guess." So that was the 3DS launch party here in my town.
oh
It was me and one
man,
other guy picking one up. I couldn't wait to play one. And but you're right, it had the AR capability. I remember I still have that giant AR card that you could get through like Nintendo points.
oh
So you
no.
can make
Go on.
for taking pictures on a larger scale. And you can get little before Pokemon Go, you could have a little Pokemon pop up on your kitchen table or something like that. And the PlayStation Vita also had a VR feature or the AR.
Did it?
PlayStation Vita had
I've
had
got a
AR
Vita.
also. There was an AR game that would have like a swimming pool. You could like create a little swimming pool on the thing. They would dive in. I remember that one. But again, just like you're talking about, no one talked about it.
Yeah, no one talked about it. Like to me, I thought
It was a feature. It was a feature no one cared.
I thought it was incredible. I thought it was absolutely incredible. But then I do wonder whether it's just because I get into fads. So iToy, absolutely mind blown. Loved it.
Sure.
3D TV. You could call it a fad now. Like no one talks
Yeah.
about 3D, and
Yeah.
3D
My
TV
brother had a
seemed
3D
to.
TV.
Yeah, I thought it
Great.
was incredible. Like 3D cinema. Like I'd stopped going to the cinema pretty much, probably a little bit due to piracy, but it was just not really worth going. And then 3D happened, and I think it was Avatar. 3D
That
Avatar.
makes sense.
That blew my mind. I went and saw it twice, and that is a long film. Like that is a 3 hour film.
It's a long way to see twice, right?
Yeah. And I don't know whether that was.
No.
I'm always like, wow, chasing moving cars or whatever it is. It's like, wow, what's over there?
Well, companies, they never know what's going to work, and PlayStation's always been good about that. Sony's been good about
Yeah,
that. The PlayStation, a lot of people don't know this. The PlayStation 2, the square, cross, circle, triangle buttons are analog. They will react the harder you push them. But barely any games take advantage of this, and a lot of games do, but no one cares. You know, they have analog buttons,
dude,
and
I
it's
did
like,
not know that.
well, there you go. See, I'm telling you. Exactly that. PlayStation 3 rolls around. You get the iToy. PlayStation 4 rolls around. Well, we get the PlayStation VR later.
Yeah,
PlayStation 5 has the cool the little trigger things, which are super awesome, I think.
yeah, they are
Um,
awesome. Yeah,
but
yeah.
and that one's something that I think a lot of people are going to take advantage of. But yeah, there's all these great gimmicks that are out there with video games, and not just PlayStation, but a lot of games. I was watching. I don't know if you watch Kevin Kinson at all on YouTube. I love Kevin Kinson. He does a lot of great. Like, here's this new cool thing, and it just the lighting. I mean, I could go off and on about his channel. He recently posted just a quick little adapter for your phone so you say, oh, I can use this to play my Xbox and my PlayStation through a remote play on my phone. And I was like, I keep forgetting that's even an option, because I never think about playing a PlayStation game on my phone. I'll play it on my TV, or something.
Yeah, for sure. Have you
You know.
invested in like the Xbox X and the PS5? Are you?
I
Sounds
do.
like
I have the PS5 and I have the Xbox Series S. Only because I had the one, but I never had any physical games for it. All the games I had were all digital. So with the Xbox Series S, I just have that basically solely just for Game Pass. So that's basically my Xbox Game Pass system.
yeah. Yes,
Um,
yeah. But
and I traded everything over for the PlayStation 5.
and you enjoying the PlayStation 5?
Uh, it's funny. All the games I'm playing on it are all PlayStation 4 games, and
Yeah.
which is fine. I mean, because we had two PlayStations in our place. There's one in the bedroom, don't ask, and then there's one in the living room. And then I would mostly play the one in the living room. My wife, who's also a gamer, would play the one in the bedroom. They both have PSVRs because we're both VR gamers too. And so then when I got the PlayStation 5, then I moved the PS4 Pro that I was using into the bedroom. But all the games I'm playing are all PlayStation 4 games, and I prefer the PlayStation 4 interface more. It's just like how do I turn a game off again? I had
No,
to hit the button and hit it
yeah.
again and scroll over somewhere else, and
I
so
kind
I'm
of
still
agree
not
with
quite
that.
used to it, but it's the same.
Yeah, like today, for example, I jumped in a party with my friends to play Call of Duty, and the party system just doesn't seem
Oh, it's not
clean.
intuitive at all. Yeah, I was like, how do I have to wait for an invite? That's the only way I know how to get back into it. Because before it would just be like, party chat, this
Yeah,
person, there you go, done. I'm half tempted to. I mean, I still have the PlayStation 4 that I was using. I, half tempted just to put that back up, just to, just because it's easier to work right now. Outside of Astro's Playroom, and yes, I have a couple of PlayStation 5 games, but they're also available on the PlayStation 4. The only difference is the trigger thingy.
yeah, for sure. Like I think the everything, if you called it next generation, the DualSense controller is the thing that actually
Hmm.
made it quite certified for me that things were a bit different. Because the Xbox S Games Pass is brilliant. I love that. It's on everything. But yeah, that
Yeah.
controller is the one. Wormsworth Reflex Unit 2 on SideQuest and Switch. Switch version has a labeled VR compatibility. All right,
Oh,
okay, I did not know that. And I've played that
I'll
game
take it.
on SideQuest. I played that on the Quest, yeah, from SideQuest. I did not know
Oh,
that.
I love SideQuest. I'll have to check that out.
And thank you ever so much for the donation as well. Cheers, man. Thank you. Yeah.
Wormsworth.
So let's talk about virtuality and you.
Sure.
When did you first play it, and what got you into it, and why are you still interested in it today?
uh, when it comes to VR headsets, I was familiar when the Oculus came out, and I loved seeing the videos of people. It was like even when it was still under development, and people had like the dev kits and all that at offices, and I loved watching the videos of somebody playing like Assassin's Creed in the guillotine scene, and like they put on the headset, and then right when the blade would cut down, they would like chop their neck with their hand, and then make them freak out. I thought that was the funniest thing ever. And I was like, I've never had a computer good enough for VR. So I was like, well, I appreciate that. I think it's cool. I'd love to check it out, but don't have the ability. So I just kind of discarded it. It's like, well, nothing I can do about it. It wasn't until, and this is almost like the anniversary. I mean, they announced the PSVR. It was something like, only because I look at my this day in history stuff. It was like 5 years ago, as of yesterday or the day before, that they first announced. And even when I saw it, I was like, $400, man, that's a lot of price. That's a lot of money for a gimmick that no one will ever use. And that was me being naive, 5 years ago, right? But my brother, who's also a gamer, he bought one day one when it finally first came out. And he had it for about a week, and he was like, "Hey, I got the VR. If you want to borrow it, swing on by, and I have it in the box and everything."
Wow, I couldn't have lent unless he's traveling. I could not have lent mine out for about a year.
Yeah, well, I mean, he still lives in town. He lives across town, so and he's cool with that. He's always cool with letting me borrow stuff and everything. He wanted me to check it out. I think he wanted me to buy one too.
Yeah.
So I checked it out, and what was the first thing I played on it? It wasn't Battlefront, but it was
you got Battle Zone, which is the tank one. You got
it may have just been the demo disc. It had to have been the demo disc. But that was my first like, oh, there's depth. I can look around. This is cool. Okay, I'm cool with this. And when I started playing games, I was like, then I forgot what I played, but it was it was London Heist, of course.
Yeah, I knew he was going to say London Heist. Yeah,
that's always what it is. I mean, and I like showing people Battlefront first, like the Star Wars one, because they're familiar with Star Wars.
Yeah,
the title screen's like, okay, I can kind of see around it, and then when you see that giant like the Walker foot come down, you're like, oh boy, there's that, and then I think that's pretty cool.
I still think getting in that cockpit, it's so detailed. It's and the fact you can interact with stuff. Yeah, it's incredible.
And you're sitting down and everything, but after with London Heist and the person, like when they're like in your face, they go spitting in your face and everything like that, and you can pick up the cigar and smoke it. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is all right for me. So that's when I was like, that's great. I'll wait until I find one. I'll wait for a little while because I do want one, but I'll still wait for a little while. And then fortunately, somebody had one because as what happens. They buy it, they're all in on it, they try it, they play it, they get motion sick, or they don't care for it, or they're like, well, we played it but now it's still sitting here, but it's still worth a lot of money, so we'll sell it. So I was able to I bought my first one used, and that was good enough for me. And then from there, that's when I was able to go back, and fortunately by that time we have places like GameStop where people trade in their old games, so you're able to find all these great VR games that they're just like, I don't need this game anymore as well. So you'd find the Batman game for like $5.
Oh,
like that.
wow.
So that's when once
Batman.
I got the VR, it was about a year after it launched. So after I got the VR, then I went back and found, all these other games. And then when I was looking through it, I was like, they haven't really released a whole lot of physical games. A couple of them, they're the Job Simulator, which is harder to find now. Batman, this, that, and the other. Robinson was another one. Farpoint, it came out a little bit ago. So that's when I started like, I can at this point collect one of literally every physical game that ever comes out for the VR, for the PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
So then from there, for about a while, I got to a certain point where I had literally at least one of everything released for the VR internationally. Until it got to the point where then it was like, okay, this is a blockbuster. This is a GameStop exclusive. This one's only available in Asia. This one's it's like, okay, now then they started doing like the limited run games. Like these ones are only here. Perp will release their own game. I love Perp games, but they'll have their own games. I was like, okay, I can't keep up anymore. So
makes you think though, because I mean, if you'd have kept a collection like that, or anyone who knows, like nowadays, how much a Virtual Boy is worth. With all those games. I don't know. Did you use the Virtual Boy?
Yeah, I have one in the other room.
Oh my god. You got all the cool stuff.
I can pull it out if you'd like, but it's
what's it like? No, man.
Showing off.
They actually do them on the Quest. You can get an emulator on the Quest for Virtual Boy games.
I have that one. Yeah,
it's very good.
You can sideload it, and it's great, and it's all in 3D and everything. And that's all you need. But yeah, there's some Virtual Boy games that are like, I wouldn't pay that much money for, collectors are in a different mindset, and the mindset is if I don't buy it now, I might not buy it later, and by the time I get to it later, then it'll be worth even more money, which happens.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with emulation too, and Virtual Boy is, yes, it's kind of cool to have one. If I had a game room, I'd showcase it, but
the thing about emulation is it keeps the games alive, because without that, people would have to physically get hold of these items, and you're not going to be
Mhm.
able to get hold of the items. Like when they brought out the NES Mini, like I've got the NES Mini and I've got the SNES Mini, and because
Nice. Yep.
I haven't got the originals anymore, and I'll be honest with you, they are hacked or cracked, and they've got,
Yep, of course.
and I've put
You
all
load
the
it up with
games
everything.
on them. Yeah, basically, yeah,
Sure.
and I love it, man. I love it that I can just slam that in on the TV and just play that.
Yeah, I mean that's when EverDrives are great for this, because some people like playing. I think emulation is great, but there is something about playing the actual cartridge in the machine the way it was intended, like on a CRT, because like CRT also has pixel artists use CRT monitors for certain depth. So it's like then there's a great comparison online somewhere, but it says like here's what a skeleton looks like on this game on a CRT the way it was intended, and it just looks more detailed than the actual pixel perfect flat screen. Everything's the same color, just because it has to use that certain ability. And then also like once the game is in the system, and this is maybe the part of the physical collecting part of it. Like if you have just everything on an emulator, everything on a RetroPie, Raspberry Pi. I have one right here. I have a Mister.
Right.
Which can do everything. Like once you play, like there's something about it's almost like an iPod experience. Like if you're just flipping through songs, like if you just have one game, it's in the system. Now it's an effort to get up and change the game.
Yeah.
So then it forces you to actually play through and sit through the game and play the game. But sometimes you'll just have a RetroPie or some emulator or something. You'll play the game, you'll die. I was like, okay, no, that game. Now let's reset it and go play
Yeah,
something else. And you
that
play
is-
It's like, well, all right, done.
Yeah. You
Play
end
the
up
first level of
playing
that.
no
All right,
games.
Next.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
you don't spend any time with any games, do you?
Yeah, you just cycle through. It's like like a teenager listening to their favorite song. It's like, oh, here's my favorite song, and they listen to the first part right up into the hook and the chorus of the song, and they sing the chorus. And like, okay, done. I've already heard the song. Here we go. Next. And you're like, dude, I can't even. You don't have time to enjoy anything. You're too busy. Too busy being on the go.
So another console I want to talk to you about quickly, because I know one of my favorites was the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh yeah.
Did you like that? Did you get on with that?
I love the Dream. I loved it to the point where I couldn't wait for it, to the point where I bought mine from Japan before it came out in America, because I had a friend. It was during a time in the mid to late '90s. I imported most of my games. I would get games from, thanks to the internet. I was like, oh, I could get all these games, so I just end up buying all these imports and playing them. And I knew a little bit of Japanese, not much, barely any at all, but enough to I can play through most games. And a lot of games are platformers. You don't need to know Japanese to play them. You just keep going. And I thought that with the Dreamcast as well. It's like, well, when the Dreamcast comes out, I'm going to import all my games anyway, so I may as well just buy a Japanese Dreamcast. So I did. Before I bought it, at first I was a little on the fence. I was like, I could, I don't know, but I had a friend of mine who we were both in the same mindset, and he bought one and tells you about the time, tells you how retro it was, because again, we didn't have YouTube at the time or anything like that. We had the Usenet news groups and AOL chat services and stuff like that. He literally recorded. He had Sonic Adventure, something else, and something else. Probably King of Fighters, probably one of them, probably a racing game. I don't remember. So he literally recorded on a VHS tape gameplay footage of him playing these games, and then sent me the VHS tape so I could watch it. And as soon as I watched it, I was like, oh, I'm sold. So then I immediately went and I bought my Dreamcast from Japan, along with Sonic Adventure and and a wrestling game as well.
Yeah. Oh, Ready to Rumble.
And it still works. The thing's a beast. It still works great. I love it.
I think there was actually a company that made a new game about a year ago or something. There was still people making. I think in Japan, people still make games for it.
Oh, there is. There is a game. If I stall for time and pause for editing, there is a game called, and along with NES and along with other channels too, there are people making these great homebrew games just in their basements. No, thank you. Actually, yes, thank you. Please, I'll take one. Got my kid over here. Thank you.
Hello.
This is now brought to you by Kieran Ichiban. Apparently, it's a little. It's 5 o'clock your time, right?
What is that? What is that? A beer? Is that a beer?
It's a beer. Yeah, it's a beer. It's a Japanese. It's a Japanese beer. Here's me talking about me being a huge weeb, talking about importing my Sega Dreamcast back in the late '90s because of the internet. Yeah, and drinking a Japanese.
That can looks tiny. Are you big? Are you a big person?
I'm 6'5".
Yeah, he's a big person. Cool.
I'm a pretty big dude.
I
I'm
was just looking.
six foot. I can palm basketballs. Yeah. I'm always sitting down, and no one realizes that because when I go to conventions, and I love attending video game conventions. I can't wait till restrictions are open because
I
I
was going to
totally
ask you about that, about where you've been.
yeah,
But
and we can we can talk more depth later on. But whenever I attend video game conventions, people say I like when you try to fix. I like it when you try to fix broken video games, or I like it when you rank games or whatever. They say I like it when you have your kids on your channel, which is true. And then the other one is, hey, I'm a huge fan. Wow, you're a lot taller in person than I thought. Because I'm always sitting down in my videos. I'm rarely standing. I did a video recently where I covered this this II arcade where I was standing up and I was kind of next to it. But I was like, I'm not the not the quite the thing. Xenocider is the name of the game that I was looking for. Xenocider is for the Sega Dreamcast, and it's a homebrew, and it's made by a small development team in Spain, and that's what I love about. Especially other countries and everything too, like Brazil is huge for retro gaming still, and there's places like Portugal, Spain, that are still keeping all these retro gaming alive, and which is lovely. So I love the fact that you can still make physical games for the Sega Dreamcast.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, as I said, like I just look into this stuff. I still get emails now, people making NES games, GBA ROMs, and
not crazy.
I would never have time because of the virtuality thing, because that's where I want to put my time. But to know it's still going on is fantastic. Those things are still alive.
They keep it alive. It's just just like there's indie filmmakers who are making movies. It's like, I'm a passionate filmmaker, so I want to make this movie on a limited budget. There are people who, they learned how to program their own games, or fortunately with the Nintendo, there's the NES Maker, which can basically just almost it already comes with the game's code. You just have to put in what goes where, and you can tweak the code along the way too to have to do certain things too. And there's people making brilliant games with this that would have for surely got that Nintendo seal of approval we were talking about earlier.
That's it, man. And I still think I think the 8-bit and 16-bit is now an art form. It is definitely an art form. Like I was playing Undertale again the other day, just that the music and the graphics is so cool. Like
and
works so well.
It's no secret too that Toby Fox got started by making game hacks. He hacked Earthbound for the Super Nintendo, and he made a Halloween hack of that game, and Nintendo shut it down. Nintendo was like, "No, you can't do that." So he's like, "I'll just make my own game," and then.
So let's talk about gaming conventions, man. Let's talk about where have you been? Where have you been? What are the highlights? Because I guess you've been loads of places.
I've only been to places in the United States. I'm in Washington State, which is in the northwest corner of the United States. So close to Canada. If the Canadian borders were open, it would take me it's like a 5.5 hour drive to Canada, to Vancouver, BC. And there's a video game convention that happens there. I have a lot of friends who attend that one. I've never been. Was planning on going last year. Was planning on going this year. Didn't happen because we're still stuck in a pandemic. But around, my kid just brought over one of these. Talk about
Toby Fox.
Talk about Toby Fox. Cool. So it's nice because I love to travel, and video game conventions gives me that reason to, instead of just showing up in New Jersey and just saying like, "Okay, well, I'm in New Jersey. All right, now what?" It gives me a reason so we're all showing up, and then I'm able to meet people that I talk to online all the time. Gives me a chance to, say hi to people and stuff like that. And then also gives me a chance. I'm a huge foodie. You don't get to be my body type by not eating food from all over the place. So I love, just seeing what regional food that they have that's super hyper specific to like that region and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like what conventions I've been to, it's nice because before the pandemic, video game Comic Cons, things of that nature, like just geek fest conventions, whether it be video game, retro gaming, Comic Con, we would average something. It seems like about every month here in the Northwest. Between the Seattle Retro Gaming Expo, the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, the Vancouver Retro Gaming Expo, and then there's a Comic Con in Portland, a Comic Con in Seattle, a Comic Con in Spokane, which is a nearby town. There's always something going on and always something to look forward to, which is great. But then to fly out and go to a place like there's a SoCal Gaming Expo, Game On Expo, which is in Phoenix. I'll be at Retropalooza later on this year, which is in Texas. I've never been to that one before, but that one's been going on for a long time. It's hosted by one half of the Game Chasers, which is a popular gaming YouTube channel.
Yeah.
There's one in New Jersey that I've been to. There's one in like Long Island in New York, which I haven't attended yet. Unfortunately, I've been invited, but it's also the same weekend as another convention, like the one in Phoenix, and it's like
Oh,
So, and that happens a lot too. They start doubling up and everything. There's one in St. Louis, Missouri, Mo GameCon, which is great. Upstate New York, Syracuse, New York, which is a fantastic one too. It's called Retro GameCon, which is cool because in attending that one, I was able to drive. Some friends and I drove to Rochester, New York, which is home of the Strong Museum of Play, which is a huge game museum, toy museum. They have the archives. We got an archive tour where they have like here's like every like just a huge warehouse full of old arcade games that they're fixing and everything, and it's just a kind of a mind blowing experience. So
I take
a
it you
lot
go
going on
to
there.
E3 though. Do you like E3?
I have been to E3. I attended my first E3 a couple years ago. Always wanted to go
Oh
ever since I
yeah,
first heard about them in magazines.
yeah.
And it was the year after they opened it to the public, and it was fine. I mean, some people are like, oh, it's not the same anymore. They let the peons in, that the public. And it's like, well, no, that's what it's all about. It's all about the gaming and everything. But they opened up for a few hours just for press, and I was there as press. Um, which is cool, but it also doesn't grant you any special access. Like like here's the Nintendo booth. You can wait in line. It's like Disneyland. You're waiting in line for like an hour and a half, 2 hours to play the new game that's coming out. In that case, it was Luigi's Mansion for the Switch. But if you're a Nintendo brand ambassador, then you might be able to schedule like a kind of a behind the scenes
Yeah.
look at some new games that are coming out soon, and that's what a lot of it is too. Where it's just like you can see everything. PAX is another one. There's PAX East, PAX West. PAX West is in Seattle, so I always go to that one. PAX East is coming up in Boston, hasn't been canceled yet, so I'm hoping I can attend
Oh
that one. We'll
wow.
see.
Nice.
If I'm able to fly to that one, I'll check it out. And that's one I would have to fly myself. Like they wouldn't invite me to fly out. I'll have to pay for my own ticket and all that.
Yeah.
But I can write it off on my taxes. So there you go. So we will.
Yeah.
No, so
Nice.
so you go to E3 and you see all these great demonstrations and the really eye-catching. So Fortnite had a huge area that had like a little play field in the middle and everything, and they had like unlimited what it was called Slurm. It had a little Dixie cup full of like a frosty style like a shaved ice drink to get your attention and everything. But a lot of it is also kind of like in this little small corridor. There's like the behind the scenes, like, hey, come visit our like you have to have it schedule an appointment to go, and they're in advance. They'll email you in advance, and you have to like knock on the door, and then they'll come get you, and then they'll take you back and close the room. It's like, oh, you can't take pictures, you can't take video.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes this is under NDA. Sign this thing so you can't talk about it. And I was able to. It wasn't under NDA or anything like that, but like Zen Studios, for instance, showcased their new pinball game. They had to do the new Star Wars pinball for the Switch. I know they're coming out with one for the VR soon. But,
Yeah, they are, yeah.
so I was able to check out the new Star Wars pinball, which is coming out, which is already out, by now. And it's just stuff like that. So it's cool to be there and get the experience. And you run into, we were talking about Greg Miller earlier. So randomly running into Greg Miller at kind of like an after party, and he was like, "Hey, thanks for supporting indie games." It was like an indie game party, and he happened to be there. I was like, "Oh, dude, yeah, thanks. I'm a fan of what you do too."
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm there as a fanboy too, and it's fun to see. And it's just a huge collection of people just letting their freak flag fly, so to speak.
Yeah.
Any game convention, and there's a bunch of them in Europe. And I was planning on attending one
Gamescom.
again right before the pandemic hit. That's one of them.
Nice. I might see you there one day. I
know. I want to go to Gamescom. If Retro Spell Messen's still happening, like in Norway, I've never been to Norway. I still have relatives that live there.
With no chin. They got no.
Well, that's how you'll tell us apart. Yeah,
they got no chin.
the one with no chin. I'm related to him probably.
Lips attached to your neck.
Yeah. It's how it works. So once that lifts, because I've always wanted to visit Europe anyway, because I love. I mean, not just because I love the TV shows and the pasties and
what is that?
What's in this bag here?
Yeah.
Again,
what is it? Donuts? What is it?
Washington State, Yakima, Washington. I literally have a bunch of these.
Oh yeah, Bakewell tart.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, exactly. They're Bakewells. Forgot it. we have a European. So it's super random. We have a European bakery near Seattle, and I was just there like a couple last weekend. And I forgot I even had these over here.
Dude, ask them if they do Chelsea buns and Belgian buns.
I'll see if they can probably do either of them. The reason this bakery came about, this is so random. This is the most random VR podcast ever.
Excellent. That's what it's all
but
about.
It's near Seattle, and the only reason it's there is because the owner's husband comes from England, and so they're like, well, let's just open up an English bakery here. So it's a little cafe. You can get tea. They have like candy bars on the shelf that you can't find in America, and they have a little diner, a little cafe area, so you can order. Last time I was there, I got a sausage roll, which I love, as well as
what do you mean? Hold on, wait. When
Yeah.
you say sausage roll, is sausage roll not something you have?
No,
Why? What do you mean?
because we have corn dogs.
Yeah. So what are they? Are they like the potato with the hot dog in the middle or something? A corn dog?
So in the chat, if you don't know, sausage roll is it's just like ground sausage, not with casing or anything.
He knows already. My demographic is very American, so he's trying to describe.
I know. I'm just in case.
No, they won't. They might not know. I didn't even
of,
think about it. I've never thought about it.
You have to the whole explain like I'm 5, because sometimes you're just like, what's that? What's this? You know, this. I mean, video games all day long. Everyone knows it's like 3D no problem. Rolls. Sega. Yeah. So it's like just this ground sausage. It's spiced or flavored or something, and then there's like a puff pastry around it. Super simple. Make it at home. Delicious. It's awesome. They sell them there at the cafe. They also sell them frozen, so you can just make them when you get home. Our corn dog is basically a beef frankfurter that's been dipped in cornmeal and then fried.
Okay, so while we're trying to steer it a little bit, let's get cereal out of the way, because you are a mentalist cereal. So me and John have probably, I don't know, I've been doing this 3 years. So after about a year, so 2 years ago, I bumped into John now and again, and about a year ago, I put a picture out on Twitter of white chocolate Cocoa Pops, and he DM'd me and he was like, "Dude, they look fantastic." And we never arranged it.
We don't have those here,
but I'm going to arrange it. And I said to BMF today, because I said we send each other stuff. So
I've seen your snack trades before. They're pretty epic. It's not just 1 or 2 items. You hook each other up for sure.
You might as well do it, man. You might as well go big if you're going to do it, because the shipping is so expensive. You might as well just go all out, you know. So
I have someone I help out in Ireland. He's a huge gamer too. So we here in the United
States. Is it Lonely
States,
Viper? Is it Lonely Viper?
It's not Lonely Viper.
Oh, he's Irish. Yeah.
It's he's not really he's not on like social media to a huge extent. But he's a huge gamer and he has kids. So like we had Pokemon cereal, we had Minecraft cereal. So he was like, "Oh, can you get me those for my collection?" He's a huge collector. So I do that, but then in return, he would send me like we don't have Shreddies here in the United States, stuff like that.
Shreddies, I mean, you obviously you have Kellogg's, so you must have a certain variety of stuff. So it's things like when it's
not exactly the same. We have Chex, which looks the same, but our Chex is made with either rice or corn, while Shreddies is like a malted wheat.
Yeah. There's a big thing on grains and wheat over here. Like a lot of cereals are grains and wheat and corn, maize or corn.
It's
frowned upon. It's a bit frowned upon over here. People aren't very happy with that.
It's health experts frown upon like corn syrup for the same reason, because it's corn. It's just like it's such a cheap substitute, and a lot of our cereals have gone. It used to be like with multigrain oat, whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
They've gone since to the corn substitute, which not the same texture, not the same flavor. It's like, come on.
It's not only that, man. Like all your stuff has so many colors. Like over here, you get Fruit Loops, which you have to find in the cheap £1 shops. You can't really find them because no one buys them. Everything else is just not colored. As every time I see you do a picture, it's got like 4 or 5 at least colors of the rainbow in it. Somehow.
It has to look like that came from a cartoon or something. It really does.
You're eating it.
I'm looking at my cereal. I put all my cereal on top of our refrigerator, and I'm looking at it now, and it's like, I see. We have tropical Fruit Loops right now. Those are already gone off the shelf. But there's like a Sesame Street one, and we have Rice Krispies. You know, there's the Dunkaroos cereal, which was a nostalgic thing that came back in fashion just for a moment, and back with the cookies. But it's funny, I do have some Shreddies up there because I still import cereal sometimes.
Show me, what Shreddies have you got? What type? Are they standard? I need to see because I've got Shreddies downstairs.
Grab a variety.
I've got 3 packs of Shreddies.
Oh, they're just nothing fancy here.
Welcome everyone, by the way. Thank you for being in the chat. I hope you're well.
We'll grab
high fructose corn syrup.
I'll grab this one too. All right. Here's a small selection This is ridiculous. You know this.
I'm loving it.
All right, so talk about Fruit Loops. We here in the United States, this was a limited time only, but we had tropical Fruit Loops.
Jesus, how big is that box? How big is that box?
Oh, this is family size. This is you're looking at. I'll look down here. You're looking at about. This is 550 grams. Your language.
Right.
It's over a pound.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's tropical. So it's a little bit of a pineapple kind of flavor to it, a little bit more citrus, I guess. I don't know.
I can see it.
So
Papaya. It looks like papaya and pineapple.
Could be. But then we have things like, oh, here's the Shreddies. It's nothing fancy. It's just original.
That is original. Yeah. Okay.
I like frosted. In Canada, they made a banana bread, like a banana bread flavored Shreddies, which I thought was really good. That was pretty, and it worked well.
I love banana cake.
And I like banana everything. It's from Nestle. Now we don't have Nestle here in the United States. We have Nestle candy bars. We have Nestle drinks like Nesquik. But we don't have Nestle as a cereal company. General Mills is our equivalent.
Yes.
Same thing.
So who make Cap'n Crunch?
That is Quaker Oats.
Really?
So the Quaker company. Well, let's find out. Hold on.
We have Quaker. They don't know Cap'n Crunch over here. I see Cap'n Crunch all the time in like American stuff, but I've never actually eaten them.
So.
That looks so cool.
I just have some laying around, you know. Yeah, it's from the Quaker company here.
That's really cool.
And Quaker does a few things, not just Captain Crunch. That's probably the most popular one. It really is. They have a couple of there's a Quaker like oat squares, more for oatmeal here in the United States. But I also get cereal from like around the world too. So like this one comes from Portugal. And
what is that program?
It's Gumball.
That's right.
We don't have Gumball themed cereals here at all, but you know the Gumball characters are. I mean, they're mascots to like 7 or 8 breakfast cereals there, and they're all the same thing. It's funny. This is kind of a stars shaped cereal. We had cereal like this. There was a GI Joe themed one and a WWF themed cereal in the late '80s, and it used the same color, same texture, same everything, but we don't have them here anymore. So it tastes like that '80s cereal that I grew up with. You know?
That's cool.
And then we also have, and this will be the last. I also have a box collection too of like the old cereals I collected in the previous years.
If you want to see him, follow John Riggs on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm working on a cereal book too. I'm actually taking pictures of not the Captain Crunch, but but there's also stuff like this is from a specific store in the United States.
Right. Okay.
It's a Tres Leches. They also have a horchata Crispies.
Is that cake? Is that cake?
It is. Tres Leches. It's basically it's like a 3 milk cake. It's a cake that's been soaked in milk and really gives it it's a Mexican. It's a dessert from Mexico.
Yeah.
As well as a horchata, but what's the expiration on this? Oh no, they're still good.
That's fine. I'd still eat them anyway.
So you get
bit of milk.
So plenty of options for random cereal, and then they also have other we always have like Rice Krispies and stuff.
Have you got Jaffa cakes out there?
We don't. We don't unless you find like a European shop or that one place like I was talking about that British bakery.
So if I send you a box of stuff, you'll know what you want, kind of thing. You would know, like I sent Matt Cadbury's cream eggs, and he sent me Cadbury's cream eggs. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And dude, they're quite similar.
They're different,
but he loves our ones.
Cadbury. They're better. It's a better quality, and there's more chocolate. The ones that we have here in the United States, you bite into it, and the chocolate shell splits.
Yeah,
because it's so dainty, it's so fragile. But the ones that because I tried my first one just the other day from that bakery, and it's a better quality.
The thing is though, you've got the better wrapper. Like the wrapper you've got is the original from 10 years ago. So it was quite weird seeing the wrappers. I was like, my God, I remember those cream eggs. But yeah, cool. We'll have to arrange a food drop and swap kind of
sure.
thing. I'm loving looking at the chat though.
Yeah. I don't have Freakies anymore. Oh, I do have. Leo, can you grab that cereal that's in the pantry?
There's a lot of cereal.
I know. It's the one with the funny title.
DJ, yeah, you mentioned that. I'm trying to think how I could get him, Greg. So the best sausage rolls are Greg's sausage rolls, but
so they have name brands then, right?
Yeah. So Greg's is a franchise bakery, and it's massive.
It's not super old.
It's a massive
Sorry, go ahead.
chain. I don't know how I'm going to get them to you though, because they come frozen. But I don't. There's no way anything would last that long, surely. Like for me to get that to you.
It's the one that's the funny name.
How is everyone in the chat? Thank you for
It might
joining.
be. Oh, okay, hold on.
Sounds like the house is getting
No,
trashed.
okay.
How you doing? Who have we got? Surreal Scottish, Meppa. Jesus, what's going on? Zero Call 1Ks. Nice, good to see you all. I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're having a good week so far.
Thank you. It's all good. So, all right, one final one, only because I saw it pop up in the chat here. I also have the Poop Like a Champion, which is
what the fuck? What is that? Why would someone write that?
it's just a cereal with a funny name. It's really just grape nuts. It's nothing fancy about it, but it is ultra high in fiber.
What did you call them?
Oh, Poop Like a Champion.
No, grape nuts.
Grape nuts. It is it's one of the more healthier cereals here in the United States. It is it's grape, not like the fruit or the berry, but grape it's like a milling process or something like that.
Nice. Any good?
It's these super tiny fibrous cereal things that seem to multiply in milk.
What about granola? Is granola a big thing there?
It really is, yes. Not much for cereal, but a lot of people will put granola in their yogurt, for instance.
What about oats? Do you eat porridge oats? Do you like porridge oats?
Like we have like oatmeal. That's kind of the basic thing here. And the oatmeal is usually already pre-flavored, so you'll get like packets or.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be like maple and brown sugar is probably the most popular one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not savages. I don't know.
No, I'm just.
We're not completely oblivious to the outside world.
No, I just think it's fascinating. I wonder whether we'll go down that road. Like, I seem to remember more sugary cereal when I was younger. Like, I still remember, what are the ones with marshmallows in with the leprechaun?
Yeah, Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms, yeah, Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
So
for St. Patrick's Day.
The only time I could get Lucky Charms was down a market. You couldn't get them in shops. They were like, and they were cheap, like really, really cheap. And then, I don't know, 20 years later, I haven't seen them for like 20 years. Suddenly they're on the shelves and they cost, let me think.
Premium.
They must be £3.5, maybe £4. So that'd be what, $6-7 a box?
About that.
This is insane.
Well, and here in the United States, things like Cap'n Crunch, things like the sugary cereals, Fruit Loops, and all that. Those are the cheap cereals because they're made cheap, they're dirt cheap, and that's why parents feed their kids those. Now, these are for me. It's funny, my kids actually don't care for cereal like this.
Wow.
And I never eat it for breakfast. It's more like a late night snack. I'm editing something, something before bed, which is terrible. It's also terrible. I have to brush my teeth afterwards.
It's the only downside. The only downside of having a beard is liking cereal.
I get stuff.
Oh.
But it's always a cheap cereal. It's always on sale for like $2, $3 a box. The better for you cereals, the healthier cereals, that's when you start getting into like the $4, $5, which again is better for you and will last longer because you don't need to eat as much of it. Because the sugary cereals, I mean, like you take something like Fruity Pebbles, which is kind of universally one of the everyone's favorite cereals. It's flattened rice. You can eat an entire box of it and still be hungry because there's nothing to it. It's just
Yeah, I do find that. Unless it's something like if I eat oats every day, pretty much.
Yeah, oats are great. Oh yeah.
Yeah, every day pretty much I make my own waffles, which is oats, protein, a whole egg, and milk. Like that's what I have every morning, pretty much. So. But it's the only way that I could. I have to drink quite a bit of water as well. But it's the only way I could stay full up for at least 4 or 5 hours. Because if I went and had like cocoa shreddies, even though they're like a multi-grain, for some reason I think sugar makes me hungrier. I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm not really looked into it. I know it has a lot to do with insulin spikes and stuff. But this is turned into a health show, I think.
A little bit. Well, I mean, I think you're healthier than I am for sure. I'm not, as much as it doesn't look like it, but as much as I love working out, I'm terrified to go to the gym until I get vaccinated. So I haven't been to the gym in a year. Started to try running, and then I realized, I forgot how to breathe, apparently. I used to track and field in middle school. I did it all the time. And
Yeah.
but I just haven't needed to recently. And then my knee started to swell up, and I was like, okay, this is actually
Running
making it
is
so I can't walk anymore.
running is one of the worst things you can do if you're big and you're trying to lose weight, because it can really compress like your joints and your back,
Yeah.
and there's loads of like stuff. So if you want, best thing I would advise is actually uphill walking, brisk uphill
Right.
walking, and you'll burn just as many calories as like quite a brisk run, and
Yeah.
you won't damage yourself. So
That's the way to do it.
that's
Well,
what I'd
there you go.
recommend. So back to gaming. Let's try and get back to
Yeah,
gaming.
a little bit anyway. Well,
At the moment, I'm playing in the center screen the new Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles ad. Now, I was so excited when I saw this, like very excited, because Streets of Rage 4 recently, last year, I would have said was one of the best games I ever played last year, flat, not VR.
that's a good one.
I absolutely loved it. I love the soundtrack. I have it on Spotify. I think it's brilliant. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my God. The only thing I did notice about the trailers is there's no voice acting yet. I'm wondering who's going to do the voices. But then, like about, I don't know, maybe the next day, roughly, I think my YouTube feed showed John Riggs talking about Turtles, man. Like, how
Always.
excited was you when this happened?
You know, when I first, I woke up to the news. So I woke up to it like, you know, TMNT is trending. I was like, it's going to be another movie. You always think of like the worst, you know. And then when I saw the trailer, just like you, I was just like, oh, this is what I know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from. A lot of people know it from the comic. I would say the majority know it from the cartoon that was on.
Yeah, agreed.
Grew up with the cartoon and the action
Agreed.
figures.
Yeah, and the
Never
arcade,
mind
cartoon
what
and
it
arcade.
was.
Yeah.
It's what we know it as. So, and this is kind of going back to the way it should be. And of course, the great arcade games and the great video games for the time too, were the best, you know, during its time. So when I saw this, I was super excited about, you know, the potential of what of what it could be, and hopefully the voice actors. I mean, part of me says it'll be great if they use the original voice actors. Many of them are still around. Cam Clark is the voice of Leonardo, and him and I did a convention a couple years ago, so it's cool to see.
Wow! Oh my God, dude!
So they're still around. I mean, outside of the voice, I mean, Shredder's voice unfortunately passed away. He played Uncle Phil on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He passed away several years ago. But I mean, but you can get the same voices you can, and then, you know, maybe recast.
Do you remember Krang?
Oh yeah.
Do you want to hear my
voice?
That's my Krang voice. Something like that.
Yeah.
He had that big robot
very
thing.
warbly kind of. Yeah. That was one voice, like playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or playing with the action figures, trying to emulate the voices and everything. Krang was one I could never do.
Yeah, man. I used to love.
That was pretty good though. I'll give it to you.
Thank you, sir. I remember when I was a kid, Teenage Mutant Turtles gave me one of the worst pizzas of my life. It was you basically had a different pizza for a different character, and my favorite character is actually, when I was a kid, was always Michelangelo.
Okay.
But that wasn't there. It was sold out typically, and I was like, oh, I'll get the Leonardo pizza. Did not read what was on the box. Cooked it, and it was apple pizza. It was no, it was awful. It wasn't. It was awful. I was so upset.
I might like that. I don't know, an apple pizza. I don't know. Maybe there's kind of an old-fashioned, timey good old-fashioned American thing where people used to eat apple pie with a slice of cheddar cheese on top of it. And that was a thing. And as gross as I think
melted,
that sounds,
would it be melted? Like, or would it melt? Like, is that what you're saying?
I think just by nature of the pie being warm, it would kind of fuse a little bit. But the more I think about that, the more I'm like, well, you know, but
sweet and savory.
You know, I love apples and cheese together. Like,
yeah, so do I.
So do I. Yeah,
yeah.
Of them, putting them, like just having a slice of apple, a slice of cheese, and eating it the same bite. You know, like I'm
That's true.
Or something.
Yeah. Have you had bacon and chocolate?
Like, I have, and I'm not as gung ho about that as well. First of all, I'm not the biggest bacon fan to begin with. I know the internet is all over bacon. It's like, I think it's okay. I mean, I'd given the option, I usually choose sausage over bacon, but I mean, bacon's fine. I think bacon's okay.
What about candied bacon?
You know, I don't think I've ever had candied bacon. I've only had that, and I've had there's a place in. How many things do I have within reaching proximity? Good Lord, look at this. All right, so.
Oh dear.
I just came back. I was just at the beach last few days with my kids before their school started back in session. There's a place in Portland, Oregon called Voodoo Donuts. I literally have a box right here, Voodoo Donuts. They have, from what I understand, it was the first time I've ever heard of the the bacon maple bar,
Wow.
which is literally just a square donut. It's holeless with maple frosting and then bacon, like real slices of bacon on top.
My
of it.
God. Oh my
And,
God. I'm going to actually share my own video to people I know now. Like physically. I don't do that. Like they're not into VR, but that donut, that's going to make it happen.
Yeah. And that's kind of what Voodoo Donuts is all. I mean, actually, it's funny. We were just talking about cereal. They have a Cap'n Crunch with crunch berries
Oh, fuck.
donut. They're known for their voodoo. I mean, it's the gimmick is the voodoo doll donut, which has a it's jelly filled. It's like a raspberry jam in the inside. So when you stab it with a pretzel, it squirts out blood. You know.
My
But
God.
I don't
Why have
know.
you
So
not
it's not-
eaten them? Why are they, what's going on?
well, I bought a dozen of them, and I'm the
You chose
It's funny.
donuts over running. That's what you've done, really.
the child in me thinks I still like donuts, and then when I take a bite of one, I was like, it inflates in my stomach, and I feel bad, and then I get like after I eat a donut, I just feel depressed, you know. So I just
Do you
so
have Krispy Kreme?
in small moderation. What's that?
Do you have Krispy Kreme?
We do, yeah. And those ones are just, I mean, that's like fluffed air. I mean, I can barely taste anything from those. People love them. People seem to love them, especially when they're fresh off the conveyor belt.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm again, like I said, I think donuts are lovely. I love how they look, but I think I still like them like I did when I was younger. But I don't know if this is my age or what it is. But I'll take a bite of a donut or eat a full donut, and I'll feel terrible, you know, the rest of the day. So it's better for me to just not.
not eat donuts. Nice. Yeah.
Trying
So
anyway.
there we go. So when Teenage, do you know the release date of this game? The Teenage.
You know, I haven't heard one way or another yet. Just that it's coming soon, and it should be out. It'll be out when it's out.
Can we play it together?
Of course, yeah. I mean, they've got to have online capability. They've got to have online capability with this game. So I'm sure it's like Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. It may or may not be available for the II arcade. Again, behind me. We'll find out, but I'm sure it's going to be available for those home consoles, and I'm sure it's going to have online capability. Unfortunately, I'm thinking back to Scott Pilgrim that was just recently re-released.
Yep.
And trying to play that game online was pretty stuttery. I don't know. It may have been just like the servers were full because everyone was playing the game online. I even tried playing Streets of Rage 4 a little bit online, and the online wasn't as smooth as I was hoping it should be.
Yeah,
So,
I've had no
here's,
real.
Here's hoping it'll work. If not, I'll just fly over to your place and
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, there's plenty of room in the front room.
I'll bring my kids and
Okay, so favorite VR games quickly. What are your go-to games at the moment? Like ones recently, because obviously you've got a Quest as well now.
I do
alongside with the PlayStation VR. Yeah, tell me what are your go-to games?
You know, if my friends are up for it, I still love playing. Oh, why am I not? It's the Russian roulette game for the PlayStation VR that it kind of came out recently.
Yeah. Bullet roulette. It's bullet roulette.
Bullet roulette. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like playing that with friends. Because it's just fun, you know. But you know, I mean, as far as the Oculus Quest goes, I try to play Synth Riders daily. At least even for if I can do half an hour.
Oh
great.
yeah,
15 minutes.
We spoke about Vampire Vania, didn't we?
Yes, I haven't checked that one out yet though.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to that one. I should have. I didn't bring my Quest with me when I was at the beach for the last few days, so I'm looking forward to firing it up later on anyway. But I try to play Synth Riders at least daily. It's not even a game, but because I love to travel and I can't travel right now, I use the Wander app on Quest. It's like $10 or something like that, but it's basically Google Street View. So I'll just go to the pyramids of Giza, and then I'll go to the Stonehenge, you know.
I haven't checked that out.
Or hit random. That's all it is. It's not in 3D. It's literally just Google Street View. So it's just a map, and then you just go to a location, and you're like, okay, here I am. Okay, cool. There's the Space Needle. Great. Okay, go somewhere else.
Not to plug my own video, but about 2 weeks ago, I'd done a fitness video, and I had a fitness bike, and I rode through Okinawa in Japan, and it uses that. It uses that technology. So as you ride down the road, it actually moves as the street view, and you go around the world and stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. But one of the best things I've done is actual Google Earth on PCVR. Like that is amazing. That
I'm sure it's this. I'm sure it's the same thing, but
no, this
at least with Google Earth, it'll be they get the 3D-ness.
you get the 3D-ness, as we
Yeah.
call it. Is 3D-ness? Yeah, I don't know if that's a word. 3D-ness,
I'm not sure. It is now.
It sounds cool. So, like, so what's your? I know it's hard to do top threes and stuff but on PSVR and Quest, like, what's your games that you remember the most on PSVR and the games you remember most on the Quest?
For PlayStation VR, I mean, a lot of them are probably going to be. A lot of them cross over because there's a lot of my favorite games are on both, which is great.
Yeah.
So I always think of Moss, for instance.
Yeah, Moss is a beautiful game.
You know, I think of things just because I'm also just kind of an old school gamer. I just the Zen Studios Pinball Fx2 because it's like you're literally standing there in front of a pinball machine, and it's one of those games that as much as you try to explain it to someone else, we're like, oh, what is it? You're playing pinball. Oh, so you're the ball? No. You're just like standing there playing pinball.
Yeah.
But when you actually play it, you're like, oh my god, it's like the same depth and everything. It's fantastic, and I love pinball, and they do such a great job with momentum and weight and everything like that for the ball and everything. But there's like I love some of the indie titles too, like some of the games like Just in Time VR for the PlayStation VR is one I absolutely love. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
and it's a game that doesn't get a whole lot of love.
No, it doesn't.
There's not a physical copy of it, but it's out there, and it's one of those games that I always include as a just kind of a fun for fun. If someone's in the chat or they're listening and they're like Just in Time VR, I've never even heard of that game. Well, let me tell you how awesome this game is. I mean, like every game is themed in any way. It's like, well, the idea is you're an insurance policy holder, or you're protecting others. Other people have their policy saying right before they die, I will save them so they don't. So you're whisked into kind of the scenario where right before they die, but everything's moving in super slow motion. And then you have the power you can stop bullets and fire them back, with your hand. You can actually grab them with your hand and shoot them back. You can kind of zoom around the area to protect them or save them or whatever. So then you have to, find out what the scenario is. Like, one of the more popular ones is Grandpa's about to get run over by a car. So you have to run over to the clown who's selling balloons and tie all these helium balloons to the grandpa so he floats away before he gets hit by the car. And again, everything's moving in super slow motion, so you have enough time to do all these things. If someone's trying to shoot at you, you can get in the way and grab the bullet and shoot it back at them. And I don't know, it's such a fun environment.
Yeah, I do remember playing it, but I don't remember finishing the game or going back to it. And I think that's part of the problem with my channel that I tried to stop is I kept trying to cover all the new stuff. And what happens is you end up not actually, a bit like the emulators, you end up playing a lot of games, but never really finishing any. So it's quite, unless something's really special, and it tends to be horror games for me. I love horror games, especially VR picked up where, I can see Paradise again in the chat. Paradise, you're back. Basically, Paradise has been hidden from me for months from my channel. So something happened. PD, how you doing, man? Like for me, Silent Hill 2 was one of the best games of my life. Like I absolutely loved that game. Completed it over a weekend. It's so good. Yeah. And no horror game really got to me until Resident Evil 7 on PSVR. Like that. Some people I know who have experienced virtuality haven't played it, and the amount of times when I play these games, mostly live streaming, I'll get the comments saying like, "I'll have to watch you play it because I can't." But they've bought the game. They've bought the game, but they're going to watch me play it, and because it's too much, Or
well, it's different when it's on screen, but when it's like right in front of you, and you turn the corner, you open the door, and there's the guy right there, the dad right there. That's like it can be pretty startling.
It can.
I love it.
So I need to do some news quickly. Probably not going to cover everything. So first up, let me do. I've got to do it because if I don't, I'm going to quickly run my news advert. And we're back. So first up, Population 1. Tell me, John, have you played Population 1?
I haven't. Believe it or not. I know. Look, that's the face. That is the face of someone who realized that I still haven't. I haven't had a chance to. Not that I haven't had the chance. Of course, I've had the chance. I just recently. My internet's not great. Like everything's on Wi-Fi. I'm able to stream on my PlayStation VR or my PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 because my Ethernet cord is plugged directly into it.
Yeah.
But over Wi-Fi, it's not great. But I just recently upgraded my Wi-Fi, so it should be. I've tried to do VR chat. I've tried to do other other VR. I tried to stream through my Quest in the past. I've tried to do everything I could, and it just turns out stuttery, staticky, doesn't catch up. Just didn't make it worth it. But now that I have a better Wi-Fi here, as of a little bit ago,
we need to so we need to do
not too late to jump in.
We need to do we need to do Population 1 in VR and Streets of Rage 4. That's what we need to do. So
it looks great though.
Oh, it's an amazing game. And it's like, I think beginning when you get into virtual reality, you kind of start accepting that you've got things aren't quite as good as flat, like battle royale games, and you got to accept that certain things aren't going to be there because it's in virtual reality. And Population 1 is actually fully fledged battle royale.
But once you're in VR, I mean, once you're immersed in the world, I kind of forget about that. It's like, graphics. I'm not the biggest. If graphics are great, that's perfect, great, I'll take it. But I'm just in time VR. I mean, it looked like it's like Minecraft. It's like Minecraft graphics, and for some reason, Minecraft's still one of the number one games. Still making money every day.
In a way, I think games like that are an art form. That's the difference. It's not they could have been something more, but they chose not to because the aesthetic fits what they're trying to get through. So Population 1 is currently running another mode based on its previous modes, War Mode and Advanced War Mode. But now we have Super. This is where the Super Nintendo, every game was Super. Super Advanced War Mode, which is teams launching from opposite sides of the map in a 9v9 team deathmatch of sorts, with 3 players that squad up for a larger team. The new mode went live on March the 12th, and it goes till the 22nd, so I need to jump in there. One of the best things about Population 1 is it's open mic for all 9 players, so it's like a mini Avengers. 9 people flying in, and you've got another 9 people flying in from the other side, and you have like a big war. It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I've seen you stream it before. I'm just having an ability to. I mean, I've tried. Like, I have Onward, for instance, and I've tried playing that, with others or whatever. It just, But now I'm looking forward to it. I promise I'm grabbing it right after. And here, here's right here. All right, you keep talking. I'll purchase it literally right now through the Oculus app.
Okay, another bit of news. Almost 20% of Facebook employees are now working on VR and AR, which is pretty incredible. At the beginning of 2021, Facebook employed around 58,000 people, and an article from The Information says that nearly 10,000 of those are working on AR and VR technology projects. It seems like Facebook and Oculus are in it for the long haul and are seeing success in it, which I think there is no question of that. Facebook's non-advertising revenue, which does include other products and revenue streams like Portal, was up from $346 million the last 3 months of 2019 to $885 million for the last 3 months of 2020. That's a massive increase following the launch of Oculus Quest 2. I think, regardless of what people think of Facebook, and I've said this tons of times, they are doing amazing stuff for VR.
I like it. Okay, literally installing right now. It's kind of blurry to see, but
excellent.
It said install queue, but it's I got my Oculus charging right behind me anyway. So.
I'll reach out to you over the weekend, man, and hopefully I can get you to jump in because people are screaming for me to keep the stream. I think I could stream Population 1 every day, possibly.
There you go.
People really want to play Population 1, so we'll get that going. That'd be awesome.
More incentive. There you go.
More incentive. The game that is in the center screen right now is called Swarm, and it's swinging its way to the Oculus Quest and PC next month. It's an archive. One of the things are the graphics of this game. The cel-shaded graphics, I think, look very, very good. I have had a little go on it. It is great. I can't say too much about it, I don't think, but it's definitely gone from it's on my radar to now it is on my radar. That's all I can say about it, I think, so far.
Epic arcade shooter is what it says.
That's it, man. Yeah.
Okay, no, I have seen the trailer for this. Yes, please. I like this cel shaded stuff. It reminds me a lot of like Jet Set Radio, Jet Grind Radio.
Yeah. I
think it's a super cool art style. So they're doing good things with this one for sure.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
On the Dreamcast, they had like Dick Dastardly. Was it Dick Dastardly? Was it not Catch the
Wacky
Pigeon?
Races?
Wacky Races. That was cel shaded racer.
Yeah. It's such a cool look anyway, man. So I'm down.
Yeah, man. So that comes out on April the 8th, apparently. So
happy birthday to me.
Is that when your birthday is?
It's April 12th, but I'll take an early present. It's people anymore. They're doing birth months now, and this is the first time I've heard this. People are like, "Oh, it's my birth month. I'm gonna treat myself every day." I was like, "All right, that's not."
Wow,
not gonna discount
is that
that.
real?
Okay.
What, really? Birth month? That's very expensive.
I've heard 3 people do that, and there were 3 different entities. They didn't even know each other. So I was like, okay.
So, what's your feelings on like when it's your birthday? Yeah, and someone else goes, oh yeah, but like think of someone else. Like, say there's 2 kids at a birthday party, and they
Right.
and it's this kid's birthday, but they give the other kid something because it's someone else's birthday. Now, I don't agree with that thing. I'm like, no, that's your day, and you'll have your day, but this is his day. Like,
Right.
how are you on that kind of thing?
I did. I'm from a big family. I grew up the 6th of 7 children in my house growing up. So
are they all over 6 foot? Are you all over 6 foot? Are you
all the guys are.
Right.
My dad and my 2 brothers are all in the over 6 foot club. I'm the tallest still.
It is a club.
I didn't know it was a club. I guess it is now. So with our birthdays as kids growing up, we'd all get they would get like the birthday child would get the presents, but then he would have one gift that would also be a similar gift to all of the other children too. So it wouldn't be like a main present, but it would be like, oh, this person got maybe like an action figure, like a GI Joe action figure.
Yeah.
And then in turn, then we would also get different GI Joe action figures. So maybe we could play together. I'm not sure, but I remember that was kind of a thing for like a few years, but not like the entire time.
Yeah. No, I like.
But no, I see where you're coming from too. It's like that's their day. Wait for your day. It'll give you a chance to, it'll be your day soon.
A little bit, yeah. I just think to myself,
I get it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Next up, we're going to talk about Alvo when I find the video to chuck up in the middle screen, because I think we've had the same video on loop for absolutely forever.
Oh no.
Yeah, so Alvo, which I have played in a beta. I don't know how much I can say about this game either, but I am in talks with the developers of this game, and I will be jumping back in soon. If you don't know, Alvo is a fast-paced 10-player online action shooter, and the developer recently took to the Psvr subreddit to confirm that it will reveal a release date for the game's initial launch very soon. Psvr has been the core focus for Alvo, and the game will support PlayStation Aim, which is absolutely awesome. John,
nice.
Use the Aim controller, I take it.
It's funny. I have one, but I haven't used it much. I've used it a little bit just for Farpoint and that color game where you paint the color on the walls.
Concrete Genie.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever it's called. Yeah,
I didn't even know that had Aim controller, dude.
It may not be. It may be Chroma something. I don't remember. I'll have to look it up.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It looked like Portal.
It was a little like Portal, but with color. But you paint colors on the walls to get certain things to do certain things.
I think I remember.
Yeah.
I think just to read out a message to you, and it was a very good shout out from Lethal Weasel. Where did he put it? He put it about 1970.
I love Lethal Weasel.
Yeah. He put about Back to Midway or Battle of Midway. It's
right.
It's an arcade shooter from back in the day.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah,
I played the demo, but I didn't know there was the full. Oh, no, the full's out now.
Yeah. So you basically have you played it in VR then? Yeah.
Yeah, I played the I just played the demo in VR just through side quest.
No, that's fine. That's good because I think
Chromagun. There you go.
Chromagun. Yeah.
Nice.
So in Midway, you basically like sit in an arcade machine, like you're back in the day, but it's like the screen inside there is also in like a 3D, and then you have moments where you're in the plane. And I love top-down shooters. Top-down shooters when I was a kid. That and Metal Slug were fantastic game. Neo Geo, man. Neo Geo was ahead of the game.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, anyway.
That's what I never had.
Oh no, God no. The Neo Geo was. I'm pretty sure
it was a rich man's sport.
It was £100, I think, a cartridge. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like that, they're the most expensive games I've ever heard of. But then it was actually Arcade Perfect, wasn't it? That was the only console that would be.
Yeah, it was the same thing in the arcade as it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was their gimmick. So
exactly.
Yeah, you're paying $200 for Samurai Showdown, the same one in the arcade.
Yeah.
The same one at home.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Alvo will support the PlayStation Aim, Move, and DualShock 4 controllers. The studio also confirmed the Oculus Quest version is still planned for later down the line, alongside Oculus Rift Edition and cross-platform playable between PSVR and Oculus Rift. And there's some sort of doubts about the Quest version being a cross-platform for some reason.
I'm looking forward to more PSVR cross-platform with Oculus. I'm looking forward to a lot more of those because I have friends who have one or the other.
Yeah,
you know, and rarely do I only have a few friends who actually have both. But it'd be nice because sometimes I'll have like, you know, I used to host. This was like 3 years ago, but we used to do like a PSVR podcast in using Rec Room inside the PlayStation VR, and that was kind of the gimmick. But they all have PSVRs and they don't have Quests.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I tried to get him to jump over, but haven't done it yet. One guy has.
One day,
so we'll see.
So, another game, and you mentioned it earlier, was Synth Riders. There's some new DLC coming. Synth Riders is... What sort of music do you like in Synth Riders, though? Because there's obviously the synth, like electronic synth, but there's also like funk music in there or something, electro funk.
I love the electro dance. It's like
electro dance. Okay.
Yeah, the electro swing.
Electro swing.
Like,
sorry.
It's like that 20s style, but with a little modern groove to it. I like going through those the most, but the synth stuff too. And even like they have like metal, they like really hard rock and stuff in there too. That's totally fine. I love it all. But yeah, I usually go straight to the electro dance. That recent DLC pack was amazing.
Yeah, see, I'm not really into the electro dance. I love the synth, and I want to like the electro dance, but I don't. The reason I'm also interested, Beat Saber or Synth Riders. You mentioned Synth Riders. Are you just not a Beat Saber? Like, is it the game style? Like, what is it about Synth Riders you like more than Beat Saber, for example? Because some people would just say it's a rhythm game. It's a VR rhythm game, and it's got to be Beat Saber. But personally, I like Synth Riders more than Beat Saber. I like Beat Saber, but I like Synth Riders more.
And that's really about it. I mean, no, I love Beat Saber, and I still play Beat Saber every once in a while. I love Beat Saber. I have nothing against Beat Saber at all forever. I think it's just I like because with Beat Saber you're always slashing, and you're always either slashing up, down, left, or right.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's cool. It's great, and it's and I still love it, and I still play it every day. But something with where it's more environmental with synth riders, and I mean sometimes you're like I. Being me and my frame and everything, I can't dance, right? But then like you get that mentality where it's like, oh shoot, I'm actually literally dancing right now. Of course, if you watch your own video back, then you're like, no, I'm not really dancing. You're actually like when you actually do these things, especially when you're playing on the more difficult levels, it's like, oh, that was an actual dance move I just did. I don't know, it's just kind of fun. I just love it.
I love it when you see the memes where you think you know what you look like in VR. But on the outside, you look an absolute like dick or something.
Yeah, that's me every time.
Yeah, me.
That's why I play with the curtains closed.
Oh, yeah, I have to film myself most of the time. It's odd. So, Synth Riders DLC. Synth Riders is releasing tracks from The Offspring. The Offspring was one of the best things about Crazy Taxi back in the day.
Huge band still.
Oh man, I grew up on Offspring. It was like when I done in my rollerblading days. It was all about The Offspring.
Oh. Rollerblading, wow.
Yeah, what are you? You rollerblades, skateboard, or anything? What was your thing? Because normally it's BMX or skates, and you can't get on if you're one or the other. So
sure. I learned I break less bones if I sit on my ass playing video games all day. So there's that. Okay. I walked everywhere. I was more of a walker, runner. I would maybe jump off the last few stairs in the flight of stairs. But yeah, I'm not.
And do like a kickflip, like look cool. Like jump.
I never did the rollerblades, never did the roller skates, never did the I had a bunch of friends who were skaters, like skateboarders, and so I associated myself more with that crowd, but I was also comfortable with myself knowing that I was not a skater.
You are neutral ground, like you are friends with you're everyone's friend. That's
yeah, I was. I'm friendly with everyone.
That's awesome.
I get it all. I look into the culture and all that. I dig it. I literally still have a copy of The Search for Animal Chin from the Bones Brigade back when the Powell and Peralta had their their little short movies that they'd make for skating propaganda in the 80s. But yeah, it wasn't for me. I was more interested in looking at it, but didn't actually want to be a part of it.
I understand that.
Didn't want to get on a skateboard.
I broke my femur, which is the hardest bone in the body, I believe. I smashed that into a concrete post, and I broke both my wrists. I fractured both my wrists as well. So yeah, it is dangerous. But yeah, so the Offspring. Whoa, we've got a donation. I can't see who it's from at the moment. Hopefully it'll show up in a second. Thank you ever so much to Big Show. He has donated $100. Bloody hell, man. Thank you ever so much.
Dude.
Keep up what you do, man. I watch Ready Player One again, and I can't wait until we have that. One day, I do believe that. Like, I've been experiencing B haptics recently, and
Yeah, that's crazy.
it's amazing. Like, B haptics is amazing. I think to myself, one day you're gonna put like a wetsuit on or something, and it's gonna have all them sensors in, and it's just gonna be wild. So thank you ever so much, Big Show, for that, dude, and everyone else for watching today, and everyone else who's donated. Thank you ever so much. So Synth Riders new DLC, yeah. The Offspring, Bad Religion, and more. Going back again to, did you do the Muse algorithm experience in Synth Riders?
I did. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That one blew me away. I didn't realize it was coming
No.
until it was already available. And then I think he was just in the chat earlier, but BMF said something like, "Hey, if you have Synth Riders, stop what you're doing, check this out." Whatever he said.
Yeah.
And I didn't at first. I did my usual Beat Saber thing, or not Beats, yeah, my usual Synth Riders thing, and I played my usual songs that I like to play, and I'm not on any leaderboards or anything. It's just more for fun. And then I was like, oh yeah, there's that new experience. Yeah, I guess I'll check that out. Sure. And I literally thought it was just going to be a song that was like that would phase from one ear to the other. It would do like stereophonics or something that would just made it sound cool. I didn't realize it was its own entity.
Yeah, it is. It's an experience. It's a virtuality experience.
It really is. It was cool. Yeah, it was cool. And now that you mention it, I'll probably play it again after this podcast, just because I almost forgot all about it.
I need you to do Vampirevania. I need you to do Vampire. If you like Castlevania, I need you to do Vampirevania.
I love Castlevania, man. I'm old school. You know that. So,
you need to go. You need to go the full 360. Yeah, up and down 360 and Vampirevania. It is such a rush.
All right. Is it a DLC right now, or is it?
No. It's an original song, and it'll be free. It'll be part of the pack.
Okay.
So it's there, man. Right, waiting for you. Right, it'll be there right now, waiting for you.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent. Talking about B haptics, Phasmophobia. B haptic support is coming to Phasmophobia. Have you played Phasmophobia, Mr. Riggs?
I haven't, only because it's not on PSVR, and it's not on Quest native. I don't have a computer. I don't think that's good enough for VR, like to make VR games happen through the link cable. So hoping, fingers crossed, if the PSVR 2.0 or whatever that's coming out whenever, hopefully that'll be a launch title, or hey, if they ever port it to Quest, which I'd love if they did.
I think they are. There is rumors of it coming to Quest. I mean, to be fair,
I'd love to check it out.
I think any VR developer at the moment wants to put a game on Quest because it's the thing, it's the buzzword, and that's really wants to go. So yeah, B haptic support is coming, and I believe it might be coming tomorrow. And there's two suits you can check out. B haptics. There is the $300 16 haptic point suit, which is the X16, or the X40 B haptic tax suit, which is $500. If you want to know anything about haptics, I've got the arms, I've got the chest, and I've got the faceplate, and it's phenomenal. And like when you play something like Population 1, for example, John, when you do, it's a bit like Fortnite, where if you get stuck outside the storm, you start to lose your health, and when you got B haptics on, the whole fucking world shakes. That's what it's like. And I remember, like, I had it on like 400%, and I had the face one on, and it was shaking my headset, and I'm trying to like run, and I'm like, oh, it was mental. It was so good.
I can't wait. Yeah.
But yeah, there's also Skyrim VR support, and I haven't checked that. I'd love to go in Skyrim, because apparently, like, they even have it where you feel the rain like falling on you.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
They don't have Skyrim for Quest though, do they?
No, not yet. No, it's on PSVR though.
Okay, and the B haptics works for PlayStation VR.
No, B haptics currently is only on PC and some games natively for Quest. So, Thrill of the Fight.
Oh, okay, PC. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you bought the haptics and you own Thrill of the Fight, the boxing game, then all that stuff works. So yeah, you can feel someone like tap you in the face, and it's really cool. It's a pain for a content creator though, because you can only talk about it. You can't show it as a visual display on the Quest.
No, I know. It's hard to put into words, I'm sure. Like it's one of those things I'm like I'm trying to think of something specifically. Oh, maybe a little bit like the aim controller. A little bit like the aim controller, where like you can talk about it all you want, and you're like, that's cool, but you know, I'm cool just using the DualShock. It's all right until you actually hold one and play with it. You're like, why didn't I get this sooner? And
Absolutely.
I feel like the V haptics is a little bit like that, where it's just like it comes with a premium. You know, even you know, $300. You know, we'll get you started, and then that's probably a lot of what you need. If you want to go the full route, fine, but yeah, even if you just start with that, you know, once you get it, I haven't jumped yet. I haven't grabbed it for myself yet, but you know, once I get into that, I'm sure it'll be one of those situations where it's like, oh man, this thing's great. Why did I wait so long?
It is exactly like that. It is exactly like that, and you always look forward to using it, and I'm always making sure they're charged up, because it's another immersion. It adds more immersion to what you're doing. But then it's the same thing, like this stuff at the moment, it's big, you know, it's a little bit heavy, and it's a little bit like the face thing, for example, isn't the most comfortable. If anyone ever asked me what to buy, the vest, the gauntlets, or the face, I would always go in that order. The face comes last. But yeah, last bit of news quickly. One last bit of news is about Xbox VR support may have been leaked. An unexpected message appearing on the Xbox One Series XS platform may allude to a possible VR support for the consoles in the future. Apparently, the guy tried to plug in a what did he try and plug in? An Xbox wireless headset, and they were greeted with a message. An update for the VR headset is available. So yeah, and then a lot of people go on to just go all about how it could
be. Yeah,
because I mean, it's so exciting that PlayStation's there, but how amazing would it be if Nintendo and Xbox got involved? It'd just be insane.
Well, I thought they were going to do that with the HoloLens. I thought the HoloLens was just going to be kind of the prototype version, and then later on it would be somehow linked to the Xbox, and then that's how you would get your VR out of it. You know, through some means. I'm not sure how. I don't know.
I think the HoloLens though is crazily expensive. I think
that's it is. The problem. I mean, it's multiple thousands. I mean, it's a premium for sure. I mean, I forgot how much. I think I saw one for sale once, used for I don't remember if it was like 2,000 or 3,000.
Bloody hell!
I had a friend of mine, and he's another YouTuber, and he tested one for a little while. He was able to borrow it for the weekend, just to see what you could do. But it was also during a time, especially again, you know, living in Seattle where Microsoft is. At the time, a lot of people are using HoloLens for apps, for applications, for daily life. And he was hoping, it's like, you know, they should really invest in making some games with this. There's a couple of games, but not really anything to write home about. Because that HoloLens almost, you know, it blends that VR through AR perfectly, where it's like you have the room scanned, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to be in a hot air balloon. Then all of a sudden the floor drops out, and now you're flying in a hot air balloon. You know, just through what you're seeing through your lens. However, I mean, that's kind of what I was hoping for. Even back then, through the Xbox One, you know, now with the Xbox Series S, I mean, it could have just been the way it was worded, the way it was phrased. Who knows? But I mean, I'd still be cool. I mean, I'd love it if Xbox had a contingency in the VR game. I'd be down.
I'm sure. I think with PlayStation doing what they're doing, I'm sure it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, you know. When there's money to be made, that's when people start doing it, you know, and. They're probably waiting for that investment period to still finish, you know, because obviously these companies obviously take a bit of a loss doing this stuff sometimes, and
sure,
maybe they just don't want to take a loss on it at all, you know.
Could be,
but yeah, there it is. So thank you ever so much to Mr. John Riggs for being here today. I really appreciate it, man. And as a fan,
my pleasure.
Thank you ever so much for that. Well, I don't know where we touched on a hell of a lot of subjects in those 2 hours.
That's true. It has been about 2 hours. Time flies by when you're hanging out talking about video games, right?
Video games, cereal, arcades.
True. Yeah, sausage rolls. Yeah, conventions.
It's all there, man. So yeah, and thank you to everyone in the chat today for being here and all your support, all your likes, all your comments. Thank you, and especially for the donations. Thank you ever so much for all that support. And yeah, take care of yourself. Have a great week. Stay safe. Look after each other. See you later, John. Take care, man.
See you, dude.
Stay safe.
Take care, man.
Thank you.
Later.
Bye, everyone.